Attorney in Tigard, Oregon, near Portland. I have primarily an estate planning practice where I interweave therapeutic jurisprudence with estate planning and probate work. And I've been practicing here for about 7 years. I went to college at New Mexico State University. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice and a bachelor's in anthropology, and then moved to Tucson, Arizona, where I went to law school. Got my law degree there in 2001. Okay, I have 4 children right now. I'm married to a wonderful husband, been married to him for 13 years. My children are 11 years old, 8 years old, 5.5, and 4. I work from home so that I can be at home with them as much as possible, and it's been a really good mingling for me in terms of getting my family life not to be overruled by my professional life. I've teased David Wexler quite a few times that this is my practice of therapeutic jurisprudence, is that I'm not allowing the law to overrun my family. It was in law school that I met David Wexler. He's one of the founders of therapeutic jurisprudence, along with Bruce Winnick from the University of Miami. In the late 80s, early 90s, they came up with an idea of how they could commingle the idea of therapy and how individuals always have emotional reactions to things with the work they were doing in the legal field. And at that time it was dealing primarily with mental health law and civil commitments, things like that. But as time's gone on, they've broadened it to where it now works perfectly well with my estate planning practice. Therapeutic jurisprudence is essentially the idea that the law has an emotional effect on people, whether we'd like to think of it that way or not. It doesn't mean that these emotional effects should always be paramount, that we always need to disregard other effects and other reasons for having our laws the way they are, but that we do need to take into consideration these emotional effects when we're figuring out whether our laws and our codes are set up in a way that we'd like them to be. TJ has grown, as I said. It started in primarily mental health law with civil commitments. It spread from there very quickly into criminal law and looking at the effect that our criminal and penal codes have on both the defendants and the attorneys involved, and then more recently into the judiciary and how the judges involved end up feeling when they're enforcing the laws or dealing with these individuals. This is where the idea of some of these specialty courts, the drug courts, the mental health courts, the family law courts, the inclusive ones, have come from. And then, of course, now it's spreading even beyond that. There are some people dealing with it in the business world. There's myself dealing with it in the estate planning, and there are a few other people dealing with it in the estate planning and probate. So it really has kind of spread organically from one facet of the law to the next, really kind of nicely. We've had several international conferences on therapeutic jurisprudence. More recently, they've been happening every year. There'll be another one in New York this coming summer of 2009. There was one in San Juan, Puerto Rico last year, one in Padua, Italy, the year before, Australia the year before that. So they've really been kind of coming fast and furious, and it's great to see both so much scholarship and interest in the topic. There are people presenting on everything, again, from criminal law to civil commitments to just everywhere you can think of. And then again, myself with some of the civil aspects of the law. So it's fun to see it growing. We've got a website. It's www.therapeuticjurisprudence.org, and it was begun by David Wexler with the idea that it would be just kind of a continuing bibliography of scholarship in the area, but it's quickly grown. And in probably the last 5 to 7 years, it's become far more than a bibliography. We've got links to classes that are being taught in therapeutic jurisprudence at law schools, at social work schools all over the world. We've got links to various organizations that are either practicing therapeutic jurisprudence or related sectors of the law. We've got links to conferences all over the world, again, that deal with therapeutic jurisprudence or some of the things involved in it. There are just so many facets of the website that it's hard to really pinpoint them. There is still a very extensive bibliography. It's maintained continuously. There's some articles there that are written specifically for the website by various people around the world on how therapeutic jurisprudence has helped them in their life. One by a judge, one by somebody in India who's running a program that helps victims, specifically domestic abuse victims, I think, really restart their life through using the Indian justice system. So it's really becoming quite comprehensive. Therapeutic jurisprudence, or TJ, as a lot of us call it, is really something wonderful when you start putting it to practice in your own legal field, because it really gives you the idea that the law doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to destroy people and their lives. It can be used to build them up, to help them, to make their lives better than they were before they came into contact with the legal world. Even when you look at somebody who's hit rock bottom, who's maybe dual diagnosis using drugs and mental health issues, once they hit the legal arena, then people are able to finally find ways to help them. We can get them into a drug treatment court. We can get them into a mental health court. We can take them and really get treatment that is very specific to their needs, very closely watched, and from there begin to build their lives up. In my practice, I use it because a lot of times families either don't know what they want, they are unsure of how they want to plan their estates. They're a little bit nervous a lot of times thinking about death. That's not something very pleasant. And it really helps me help them frame their thoughts. One of my questions on my initial entrance questionnaire for clients asks them for a family mission statement. And I think a lot of times that helps me just frame what's important to them, what's important in their lives, so that I'm not going off in one direction, which may be very legally sound, when really what's important is something entirely different and may have very little legal bearing, and so they wouldn't be able to tell me about that without this mission statement, without an ideal on there. Therapeutic jurisprudence, TJ, has really just been something to help focus my thoughts on where I want my law practice to go. And I think a lot of the people I've talked with, both practicing attorneys and judges, would agree that TJ helps you like a lens. It helps you see more clearly where it is you want to use the law and how you want to use it so that you can focus it very, very carefully. I am the webmaster of the INTJ website, of Therapeutic Jurisprudence website. It's really a labor of love. It both keeps me in touch with things and in touch with people that I've met throughout conferences and on the internet, talking with people who are involved in this as well. A lot of email from both David Wexler and Bruce Winnick. I think at least daily, if not more so. But it's great because everybody involved is really there because they want to be there. There's no one involved because they have to. So it's a labor of love for everyone. There's a listserv through Topeka, and easily gotten to through the TJ website. There's also an email list gotten to through the website that is a little bit less frequent in the number of emails that you get, probably one a week or less sometimes, whereas the listserv frequently gets several a day. The listserv, anybody can post to the email list as things that we find particularly important, and only a few people have access to posting to that. They're both wonderful resources. Sometimes different materials go out on the two places, so it's important to sign up for both if you're really interested in finding out the whole picture.